And here we are. We're back again here at Boom and Bust with our regular monthly panel, the Honorable Joe Oliver, the Honorable Gary Marr, and of course, Sandra Pupatello. And Sandra, I had to cut you off there. So we were talking about mortgage rates. Please continue.
Just that, we hear all these big lofty point here, a point there. What does it mean everyday people? Almost $1,000 a month if you're carrying a high mortgage. How do you make that up? How do you all of a sudden come up with more money? So this high interest rate could have impacts in other areas, push people back into the workplace, push them back from part-time to full-time, which frankly is what our businesses need because they cannot find employees. But I would offer Joe, a comment on this. You've been the finance minister. I've not seen the issues of high inflation, high interest rate, and low employment. Usually it comes along with high unemployment because businesses are knocking people out of their workplace. So, what's an economist to do or a finance minister to do besides kind of watch these chips where they're falling?
Well, I think you've hit on an interesting subject, which in the United States is called the Great Resignation. So many people have left the workplace and have not come back, and one wonders how, in fact, they can afford to do that. I mean, not everybody is living in their parents' basement. So I think government subsidies clearly have been part of it. Social welfare programs, unemployment insurance have cushioned the blow, but it doesn't. They don't make people wealthy. Or especially comfortable necessarily, but they can survive on it. And some of them are, deciding not to go back to work. But as you say, with inflation going up, costs going up, a number of them are going to have to do that. But if anything, that will increase inflationary pressures. The Bank of Canada has a limited array of options. One, the most obvious and central one is interest rates. The other is buying and selling Canada bonds, quantitative easing or quantitative restriction, which is the latter is what's going on now. So the objective being to shrink the money supply, because at the end of the day, as Milton Friedman has pointed out, at the end of the day, inflation is entirely a monetary phenomenon. So that's what they have to do. But the other side of it, of course, is expansionary fiscal policy does tend to obviously increase demand, and that has an impact on monetary on money supply and inflation. So, here again, as I think we had in during the Pierre Trudeau years, we have the full burden of fighting inflation with the Bank of Canada, and given the limited tools they've got, we're going to see interest rates continuing to move up with
Right.
economic implications, as we discussed.
Gary Marr, can I just get your comment a little bit on labor shortages? Are you finding that still an issue in Calgary and in Alberta as well?
It really depends on the sector. I mean, with the price of oil being what it is, I think a lot of people would have incorrectly assumed that there'd be a lot of new jobs created as a result of that. But the reality is the oil and gas sector has really driven down its need for employees. They can produce as much or more oil using fewer people. So there's still issues with respect to out of work engineers and people from the oil and gas business here in Calgary. There was a report released the other day that 34% of downtown Calgary space is vacant right now. There are some green shoots that are coming up with about 8% of the space being occupied by tech sectors. And there's a lot of people that are working hard on trying to make a transition from, the more traditional fossil fuel industry into clean energy. But this is a long or medium or long-term perspective. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. So, but in other sectors, there are a great demand for people, and the issue is whether or not there's the right kind of skills and competencies that are available. So it's a bit of a mixed bag throughout Western Canada, as near as I can see it.
We're going to take another short break. We'll be back with our panel talking about other economic topics. Certainly a lot to talk about. Please stay with us. We'll be back after these messages.